once had NFL dreams, but this former college football player has gone from the locker room to the classroom, inspiring his young students in the D.C. area with his children's book series called The Crunchy Life, which he created in part to help showcase diversity. ABC's Ike Ejachi has this story.
There's one thing you can always count on kids doing. First things first, I want to talk about school. You like it?
No, not really.
And that's telling the truth, especially about school.
It's just not fun, I guess. I don't know what it is I don't like about it. It's just something that I don't want to do.
Going to class can be tough for kids, especially for the past year.
On Zoom, nobody really knows what to do because nobody has really had to do this before.
But these four kids, Zoe, Heaven, Isabella, and Makai, have one thing in common. That's Glen Mourning. So is that. And so is that. He's not your typical teacher. In his class, the learning starts as soon as you meet him. What was it like actually meeting Glen for the first time for you guys?
It was a connection there. I knew that because he was a fun teacher and he knew how to teach.
Just a spot that I always come to.
Glen Mourning and I had a conversation about teaching inside Sankofa, his favorite bookstore in Washington, D.C.
Right here are the actual Crunchy Life books.
He teaches reading to elementary students around the DMV area and believes conventional methods don't apply to everyone.
The idea of being a reading teacher in general is to provide kids with access to be able to then go off and to explore the world.
That communication with the world was difficult for Mourning growing up. He says he didn't learn how to read until the age of 9.
Growing up in a house with 12 or 13 other people where you're not getting the right attention, you may not get a chance to practice reading, and just the different frustrations that build up in you as a kid. So it got to a point where it's like, we just need to get by as opposed to, really excel.
So sports became Mourning's outlet.
Football almost became like this personified father figure.
His skills on the field gave him an opportunity to go to college at the University of Connecticut with hopes of pursuing an NFL dream. But the challenge proved to be too much.
I was drowning. But at the point where I realized as a junior that it wasn't going to happen, no matter how hard I practiced, I realized that if I don't do something, I'm going to end up back on my grandma's couch.
That's when Mourning made the move from the locker room to the classroom. He graduated UConn with a degree in education, determined to make a difference. Talk to me about that first teaching job you had. What was that like?
Imagine driving a car and then all of a sudden the steering wheel just disappears, right? But your foot is still in the gas. That's what teaching, for myself at least, was like in year 1. So it got to a point where I just knew that I wanted to be, even from a child, I wanted to be like those people that helped me get through it all. You know what I mean? And it wasn't meant to be in terms of the football thing, man. Teaching there's superheroes in those classrooms.
Mourning says he started talking to his young students about life through lenses they understand. What would you talk to them about in those times when you were alone with them?
About everything. About not having enough money to buy groceries. About not knowing how to do laundry. About not knowing how to even tie the tie that I was wearing. Just being so, transparent to the point where they're like, there's never going to be a day where they can't tell me what's going on because I'm so open and honest with them.
When did they transform from words to words on the paper?
Oh, yeah. So I had an opportunity to just speak to, a group of 5th graders in Connecticut in my hometown. And once I kind of just realized that the stories that I'm telling kids in front of, large groups of people, that I could put them in books and they'll last longer. And then those messages can actually transpire into the home. Then I was like, okay, I need to figure out a way to do this.
That's when his book series, The Crunchy Life, became a reality. So how did you actually come up with The Crunchy Life? And talk to me about that name. I don't get it.
Yeah, okay. So when life gets hard to chew, hard to swallow, when reality is tough to deal with, life gets crunchy. So you can't stop chewing. You have to keep going.
Okay, I see. Right? I'm picking up what you're putting down right now.
And, the idea is just simply, what do our kids really go through? And how can we show them that we see them?
You don't see a lot of books about young black kids in school. And when you do see them, it doesn't really show what actually happens. It really just shows stereotypes and what they want to happen. But in these books, it's really realistic and can be it's really meaningful.
Heaven and so many of Mourning's students say they experience something new with his books. They see themselves in the pages. That new feeling for them only magnifies the lack of diversity in children's books. In 2018, only 10% of children's books were based around an African or an African-American character. In that same year, there were more books centered on animals than any character from a diverse background.
You have this lopsided approach where most of the struggling readers are kids of color. So to give them an entry point, Crunchy Life is like, hey, that looks like me. I mean, read it. Reading is just a gateway into the rest of the world. And Crunchy Life is one of those vehicles that you could jump in, hang on to, and just really love the ride.
I think for Black kids, period, like you get a lot of like watered down history about you. Like I feel like most books, they downplay you, they downplay your character. So like sometimes you do doubt yourself, like, okay, is it really good to be Black? And I feel like Mr. Mourning, when we went to his class, he was like, this is gonna be the fun class.
We improve so much you're reading, no more brand new books to read.
A lot of writers are inspired by the greats. Glen Mourning says he gets to see greatness in his students every single day.
Mr. Mourning used to tell us every single day, I care about you. Like, they not paying me to care about you, but I care about you.
When you know somebody care about you, you want to go on with your day instead of doing different things.
Ike Ajachi, ABC News, Washington, D.C.